Man, another great one, dude.
Yeah, man, we crushed it. Good webinar. Let's go.
You fucking tomahawk that shit, dog. How's Erica?
Erica's good. We always banish her to the other room.
There's multiple rooms in Hawthorne, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Multiple rooms. What's up, deal makers? This was our 52nd episode, which means next week we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary. Incredible, guys. This has been such a fun run with you guys. And today we did one of our favorite episodes. We did a deal review of some of our best deals this quarter. Alex, what were your biggest takeaways?
Man, this was an amazing webinar. Some of the big takeaways, because we did the full year recap, was all the learning lessons for a deal in each quarter. And then we have a special guest coming next week on our 1-year anniversary. So make sure you tune in next week too. Let's go. What's up, Aloha? What's up, you guys? Man, we're going to have a great webinar today. Look at Early Bird here. What's up, Luis? We are going to be covering all the deals. Well, not all the deals. We're going to cover like a deal a quarter. That's just going to help out and showing all the growth we've had this year. So I think that'll be cool. Let's see here. Just gotta wait for Will to log on. There he is.
What's up, Mr. Camacho?
Yo, what's up, Mr. Wall? How are you, buddy?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. We are out here living, man. Good to see you. I know you're down in Guadalajara, and we'll get a little bit of an update from you here in a second. But let us know here, man. I mean, what's been on your mind? I know we'll let some people kind of trickle in here, but Thanksgiving last week, a lot to be thankful for, and obviously, we've been doing pretty big on the business level, so we'll be doing a kind of a review today, guys, of all the deals that we've done over the quarters. We're going to pick a deal per quarter and just kind of give a recap, kind of give you guys some insight, some of our quick hitters, some of our biggest, learning lessons. We're not going to do the full post-mortem like we do sometimes on the deals, because that takes a little bit longer. But Alex, this will be fun, right? We're going to go over some big learning lessons on a lot of big deals, which I think people will be able to take some good insight from today.
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly there with, we have this process that we've developed where we do a post-mortem. We look at what happened when the deal was done. We analyze, were we really smart on this? Could we have done better? What went wrong? What went right? Where did we get lucky? So I think that's what we're going to talk about today. Just we bought this property in the first quarter. We bought this property in the second one, the third, fourth. Not all of them are dispositioned yet or sold, but I think it's going to provide some value, because so many times people just look at the numbers, but I think there's other context, right, that we can kind of share, like how we got the deal, what we were thinking, liquidity wise. I think one of the deals too, we took down because we had much better financing in line than we had, previous months back. So I think there's a couple of learning lessons there that I really want to share.
Yeah, and this is what it's about, right? It's kind of sharing a little bit of the lessons that we learned, because again, like some of these houses, you have things that happen that aren't necessarily the best thing, right? Like a flood, a red tag, something like that. Things that'll happen. So when you learn those lessons in advance, it's something we've always talked about, right? Let somebody else take the bumps and bruises, and you kind of get to avoid that now on your own. So this should be a fun week, guys. Also coming up next week is our 1-year anniversary. So we will have officially been doing this, Alex, now for 52 weeks. This is our 52nd week right now. So next week is our official 1-year anniversary, which, again, we couldn't be any more fired up about, right?
Yeah, and next week is actually my anniversary for me being in the game for 5 years. So it's going to be a big week. We got a special guest, but you guys got to stay to the end of the webinar and know who we're going to interview next week, but it's a big dog.
Big dog. This will be a fun one. Should be a fun interview. Man, I'm fired up, Alex. Again, 5 years in the game is a long time. And obviously you've shared your lessons along the way. So today we'll get to it here in just a minute and start sharing some other lessons from some of these flips that we did this year. In the meantime, let's go ahead and give a quick update. I know we kind of touched on it, like Thanksgiving was last week. You're down in Guadalajara. Like, what have you been up to, man?
Yeah, so I'm down in Guadalajara. I'm gonna be flying out tonight, God willing, landing in LA around midnight. I'll be staying Thursday and Friday. I don't like to fly directly to Maui from Guadalajara. There's no direct flights. I like to pop into LA for a day or two, say what's up, see my family, friends, team, and then head over to Maui. So doing that, last week we spent Thanksgiving here in Guadalajara. My twin brother and I had just come from Vallarta, the beach, and then we hung out with a bunch of family. I saw my mom and dad. It was pretty special. We went to a nice fancy restaurant down here, had a great dinner, just super thankful, so much to be grateful for, right? And so that was cool. And then I actually went to these ruins last week, which are about 15 minutes away from where my mom was born, a little bit outside of the main city here. And it was pretty epic because got to see how people lived, thousands of years ago. And these ruins are kind of recently discovered. And they're circular pyramids, which are, I think, only 2 of them in the world. It's called Huachimontones. And man, the architecture of the building of the main museum, they had a replica mud hut of how people lived. It was freaking amazing. And it's surrounded by these, I forgot what do you use to make tequila? I'm trying to blank here.
Agave plants.
Yeah, the agave plants. So there's like rolling hills all over the place because tequila, you guys might have heard of tequila. Well, the town of Tequila, where Jose Cuervo lived, and basically he created tequila, is not too far away from this area. So there's just like all these hills with these beautiful blue agave plants. So that's pretty cool. And
I went to Tequila too, Alex. And I mean, like when I was driving into there, it's hard to, you forget sometimes because you're like, man, what is this plant? You're like, I've seen thousands of them, hundreds of them. They go all the way out to the roadside almost, like when you're driving through the town. It's pretty wild, but what a cool town to go to, right?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the reasons we were out that way is because my cousin is building a new construction house. It's kind of like a mini mansion. He's going to do Airbnb on it. It's going to be his retirement home. He's been working on it for close to 2 years. It's in a little town not too far from this tourist attraction where hundreds of thousands of people go to see. And it's a 7-bedroom, 8-bath house. Man, that thing was great. I mean, just the construction. I've been seeing updated pictures along the way, but actually visiting the property, getting to swim in this huge, like Olympic-sized pool that he's built, that was amazing. And then, just having that shared interest with my family of like real estate, right? It's super cool. I guess that real estate runs in the family. Super grateful for that. Another big update is we recently closed. Shout out, I don't know if he's on the call right now, but shout out to Mark Neagley. He's been hustling. He got this deal. We closed on it. He's part of the deal. He kind of wholesaled it to us, but he's been working hard. Shout out to him. We closed on that property, another property in Lancaster, something that we're super excited about. And I think we're going to keep this one as rental. So that'll be cool. Also, we're going to be going to Phoenix next week, right, Will? Excuse me a little bit. I just came from the dentist, so this whole side of my face is numb. But we'll be in Phoenix next week for Steve Trang's real estate investor sales workshop that's included in the program we bought from him. And so I'm excited about that because he's one of the best real estate. He's one of the best closers in the game, teaching you how to be even better closer. And so we're going to fly in. I think I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think you're flying out on Sunday. And we're also going to be doing a meetup over there in Phoenix as well. So, I mean, a lot of things to be excited about, right?
Yeah, it should be a great time out in Phoenix. I'm excited for it. Get out there and become a better closer, a better seller. Again, these types of investments are, what you do to get better at the game, right? There's no college class to become a better, seller, a better, negotiator. They just don't have those classes, but you can read books, you can take courses, and you can go do these kind of workshops. And, none better in the game than Steve Trang, right?
Yeah, and can you share that $10,000 price reduction that you just got on that Yucca Valley property?
Yeah, I mean, this was one that, directly from, Steve Trang's training, like, just kind of took what he does and, walked an agent through a $10,000 price reduction. And I'll make sure I set the Facebook group. I'll go ahead and add that recording in there just so you guys can listen to that and kind of, hear, how you can go through a conversation with somebody about that. And how when you explain something to somebody, it's easier for them to understand, like, okay, this guy isn't just throwing an offer out to me, but this is actually why the offer stands here. This is why it makes sense. And this is, how I can present it to somebody else in a third party capacity. But, he was able to present our price reduction to these sellers and got them to agree to it because, we gave him all the ammo that he would need to get that done. So we'll make sure we share that recording in the Facebook group.
Damn, you're going to give the tribe the recording? Wow, good job, buddy. Yeah. So just real quick on that note, the reason I bring it up is because it is such a valuable skill set to be able to get price reductions, reduce, come back and be able to, and we don't do it on purpose. We do it when it's based on new information. And when we inspected this property, we got new information. So a bigger rehab, and those conversations are super valuable. And the more you have, the more you could actually nibble off these little purchase prices and get a little bit of extra spread on each deal, just when needed. So I think that's gonna be fantastic for the tribe to hear that, because that was such an epic call. I've had dozens of those, but to see you pull it off for the second, third time was pretty amazing too. Great job, Will.
Yeah, and again, these types of calls are not, like you said, Alex, it's not like we're going for a price reduction, but when we actually submitted this offer, we submitted it without getting to see the property. So I submitted it with the pending inspection, and I let them know, like, hey, I need to come out and inspect it. And when I inspect it, I might find some information that you didn't tell me and that wasn't shown in the pictures that you provided. And lo and behold, we did find that information and got the price reduction as a result of that. So yeah, we'll definitely share that with you guys. If you don't have the Facebook group, I'll share a copy of that for you guys right now as well. And do recommend just getting in there. Got a lot of the people in the tribe that are sharing their wins, sharing what it is that they want to do. So that's what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put a challenge out there. If we get 5 people from this call right now to go ahead and share a win of theirs from the week, or something that they're thankful for from the week, obviously on the hindsight of Thanksgiving, 5 people who share that in the group, and I will share that 15-minute recording where I'm walking down that agent on the price reduction. Cool.
10 grand in 15 minutes. That's good money.
Good money, man. So Alex, I know we're fired up. This week we're doing the call on deal reviews. So let's go ahead and jump into some deal review here. If you don't mind making me the host, what we'll do is, guys, we'll go ahead and pull up a couple deals here one by one for you, just so you can kind of see, what a couple of deals look like. We'll go ahead and allow you guys to use the question feature. And if you guys have any questions on the deals, as we kind of pull them up, again, we're not going to go into a full number calculation on every one of these deals, but we do want to make sure that we answer some questions for you guys if you have them. So if you do have questions, on any of these deals, go ahead and let us know, and we'll kind of break them down, right, Alex?
Yep, let's do it.
Cool. So I'm going to share my screen here, guys. You're going to be able to see right now the first deal that we're going to go over, and this is a property that is located in the city of Southgate. And, we learned a couple things, right, Alex? When you talk about Southgate, I think the first thing we learned about the city of Southgate is that it actually has a pre-city or pre-sale city inspection, right? So they come to the property and they want to inspect your property before you buy or sell it to see what the property looks like and, what kind of condition it's in there on the front end, right? So this house is
the city inspection is a different process, and not every city in LA or every city in where you're gonna be doing business is gonna be doing that. So we definitely knew going in that we're gonna have a little bit more city involvement, but we had a lot of learning lessons there for sure.
And city involvement, again, it kind of, is something that you learn city by city. Compton is another city that does that. Azusa is another city I know that does that. So those are just things that you want to kind of, know on the front end. And guys, if you have any questions while we're kind of going over these, feel free to use that Q&A or the chat feature down there. But what we mean by a
Yep.
pre-city inspection, Alex, is that they're coming out to your property to inspect it. And that means that you might have some things that you might not have thought were going to be on your scope of work that the city then adds to your scope of work, right?
Yeah, so let me elaborate a little bit. So in the city of Compton, for example, city of Southgate, when they do this pre-sale, like you're gonna have an inspector come out. So you have to, like, when you do a rehab estimate on a property that has pre-sale inspection, you have to account for the fact that you're gonna pull full permits and that you're gonna do full city involvement. And so a $50,000 rehab could easily turn to a $65,000 rehab. So just keep that in mind, you guys. City of Compton, Southgate, Gardena. I mean, some are worse than others, but it means that these people are going to be coming into the property along each step of the rehab, and they're going to make you pull permits for pretty much everything. And permits can be $5,000 in total, not each permit, but it could easily be $5,000 in just permit fees alone.
Yeah, and it's city by city, case by case, guys. So just make sure that if you're taking down a deal and you haven't maybe done a deal in that location before, sometimes it's good to reach out, talk to another investor, talk to somebody else who's done deals in that area, and just make sure that you kind of get an understanding, like, hey man, is this property going to have any issues, getting through a permitting process. So that was one of the big things that I kind of learned going in on the front end, right?
Yeah, another thing I want to add, if there's illegal unpermitted additions to that property, that could be another can of worms that you have to account for. Because in an area where you don't have to do pre-sale inspection and you don't plan on doing full city involvement, well, an illegal unpermitted addition could be something that could give you a price premium, a price bump, because like there's extra space. But in a pre-sale city, for example, with us, we had an extra bathroom in this property in the garage. And what did we have to do with that, Will?
We had to take it out, right? And I mean, that was one where you said, like, that could have been a bonus space, could have been a nice little, you're having a beer on the patio with the guys and hey, you guys can use the restroom right here instead of having to go all the way inside. But that, again, is something that the pre-sale inspection said, hey, this is not permitted, this is not to code. This was added illegally during that last tenant or last owner's 20 years of ownership, and you need to take that out. That can't be there.
Yeah, and it could have gave us a little bit of a price bump on the back end and another $10,000, $15,000 on the resale for the property. But instead, we had to increase the rehab budget because of it. You see that? Because we knew from my experience that, like, hey, we're going to have the city in here. It's going to be way harder to get it legalized than it is just to demo it. So we have to add this to the rehab budget and then understand that this is not something we can add to our ARV on the back end. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, you want to know, these types of things when you go into the project. So like Alex said, there's certain projects where that illegal addition could be a benefit on the back end, and certain that it might, not be a benefit, and just make sure that that going into the property, right?
Yeah.
So next big thing I learned on this deal, just a follow-up for you guys, is make sure that you follow up. So this is a deal that I actually sent out an offer, went and saw the property, and then I did not follow up. And it was probably the only deal I had ever sent at this time that I hadn't called the agent before sending the offer. I was like, dude, I just saw the house. I saw it an hour ago. I'm just going to send him the offer. But I sent him the offer and he never got it. I sent it maybe at 6:15 after I'd left his house at 5:15. And he was like, man, I was already on the couch for the weekend. My back was hurting and I didn't even see the email. So following up with the agents, following up with the wholesalers, letting them know, hey, I sent you that offer. Did you get it? Is important. And, normally we walk the agent through our offer. We let the wholesaler know, this is our offer. This is why our offer is in this position. And again, this was the one deal that I hadn't done that on. And it turned out being a benefit, because the next day he messaged me back and said, hey, I know I told you I didn't get your offer, but the guy whose offer I did get just backed out, and you're next up on the list. And so, again, because I did follow up, I got back onto this guy's radar. So follow up is key, and I know you agree.
100%. Well, let me add a little golden nugget to that, which is the fact that what you just said was walking them through the offer. It isn't as simple as just like shooting off the offer. Like, you want to create engagement with the agent. Like, most of the deals I've ever done off the MLS or with agents is because There was genuine engagement of, hey, we sent the offer. They responded email. We called them the next day to follow up. Hey, what are you thinking about my offer? Hey, is there anything we can do to improve our offer? You're just creating that back and forth ebb and flow that you need in successful negotiations. It isn't like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Oh, you send an offer in and they accept it. There's definitely a process to it. But if you don't do your side and follow up, then you don't get that, like, it's like passing the ball to them, then they pass it back and then back and forth. So you got to continue to follow up on them. So then that way they know that you're serious. And also, I say this often, and I'm happy to repeat it. You have to infuse this feeling of confidence to the agent, like you're the real fucking deal. Excuse my language. This person is a buyer. And you do that by performing over that stretch of time of, you know, talking to them about the deal, and then going looking at the deal, and then submitting the offer, and then all the steps along the way. That confidence that you show gives them confidence that you are a serious player and a serious buyer, and that you're not going to back out or play games. So just, you know, and then, you know, that's something I just want to make sure that you deal makers understand that is very, very important in locking up deals and buying property.
And it can go into, you know, your later negotiations, right? So, I mean, it really flows in. Like, I wouldn't have been able to go for that 10K reduction if I wouldn't have had that command of the deal from the beginning, right? So that agent knew, hey, this is a guy who's going to close it. Now some new information is presented and there's a pivot, but he still is going back to that initial convo, which is like, hey, Will knows what's up. He knows what's up with this deal. You know, he's still going to be the guy that takes this thing down. He just was presented with new info that I was also presented with. And, you know, now we both have to change our stance accordingly. So I agree, Alex. It's kind of that confidence that you know, allude and letting that agent know, like, hey, man, this is for me. And like getting, like, plastering yourself on their radar, right? So they just know this is the guy that followed up the most. He's got the most interest in this deal. You know, I think he's going to be the guy that takes it down. So good stuff there, Alex. Another big thing we learned on this project, guys, is the value of the market, right? And appreciation. So we ended up holding this property for about a month longer than we wanted to. We were trying a new project manager out. And, you know, in the process, this property, right during the middle of the pandemic, and you know, I mean, call it again, the power of, you know, the seller's market, but this thing went up about 25, 35 grand in value just in that extra month that we held the property. And, you know, just when you look on here, these are only Zestimates and estimates, but I mean, you know, we sold this property at 550,000 and it easily could be worth, you know, 600,000 now, just 4 months later after we sold it, right? Because we got 35K in a month and the market's only gotten hotter. So that's another big lesson that I think I learned from this, right?
Yeah, and then I think one of the final lessons that we want to discuss on this one, this was I'm so proud of this deal because this was the very first deal that you and the team locked up while me being remote and living in Hawaii. And I remember very vividly being on that plane, flying back to LA to look at the deal during the inspection and just praying and hoping that, hey, you guys didn't miss something and that I wouldn't be the bad guy coming in there and canceling your deal after you know, worked so hard for months to get the first one. And I was so happy. I remember walking through that property and being at the back of the property and just smiling to myself like, I don't think we missed anything. This looks good. And just testament to you, to all, you know, the team, because you guys failed a lot. I mean, we were making offers December, January, you know, and we got this deal locked up in February. So it was almost 3 months straight of complete failure, right? Like just no. And then finally get this one. It was just satisfying to say, hey, we can do this as a team. I'm living in Hawaii. You guys are crushing it and you know, using my guidance and everything that I've learned by doing all the deals I've done before I moved to Hawaii. And it was just so gratifying. Like, damn, this is the real deal. We got something here. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this was a big team win, right? This was, you know, kind of you know, like you said, you're remote, you're flying out, and the feeling was mutual, right? I was sitting there like, man, I hope Alex isn't flying out just to hop back on a flight and be like, well, going back home, that wasn't a deal, you know. And luckily it was a deal. You know, we you know, had gone through enough failure that we knew when we found a deal. And I can't, you know, emphasize that enough is one of the biggest takeaways, as well as, you know, by the time I had gotten this deal, I had probably already analyzed 100 deals a month for 4 months. So this was coming up on my like 400 to 500th deal that I had analyzed, you know. And I mean, this is when you start to get to the point where it's like, okay, now I had already seen 3 or 4 deals in Southgate. And so when I saw this one, I knew it was one that we had to jump on.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. A lot of learning lessons there, man. Super, super cool to be able to share it with the tribe.
Yeah. You know, again, I think this is a good one, and we'll go ahead and dive into another
let's
one.
not forget, how much money did we make on the deal?
Yeah, and this was a good deal, right? I mean, I think we made what, about $75,000 on this one, something around there.
Not quite. I think we
Before,
made like
before paying out our lenders and everything like that.
Yeah, before paying
private
our
money
lenders, I think that it was right around the high 60s.
Yeah, it was a 60K deal. You know, once we call that net. But yeah, I mean, like a 60K deal on you know, your first flip is you know, not a bad number, right?
Yes, sir.
So you know, you guys can check this house out later if you want to. It's in the city of Southgate. Great property, great street. You know, it's on Main Street, double wide. You know, and that's why we kind of wanted to share that with you guys. We'll jump into another one here real quick. And Alex, let's you know, kind of give a little insight, like, you know, why Joshua Tree? What was our kind of you know, reasoning for that? Obviously, like, you know, we believe in that area, right?
Yeah, so I've been hearing about Joshua Tree. I hadn't actually ever been to Joshua Tree, not that I recall. I hadn't been to the national park that they have there. And so when this opportunity came up, you know, I was skeptical, right? It's, you know, 2.5-hour drive from Los Angeles, could be longer depending on traffic, but I had been hearing about it enough to be able to say, hey, this, you know, this could be something that we could work on. And one of the first things that I learned from my first mentor that I worked for was that he didn't care where the property was in Southern California, as long as it was at a deep enough discount for him to be able to take it down and know he's not going to lose money, right? And that was what this one kind of presented to us, where I'm like, wait a minute, like the house looks like it's in decent condition from the exterior. Now we did have an uncooperative tenant on this property, but the moratorium wasn't for San Bernardino County. It was only, it was for California in general, but it was like, we already had some engagement with the tenant, or, you know, Kayvon, credit to Kayvon. I know he's not on the call. He's pretty busy working on some projects, but he brought the deal to us. And it was the first deal that we did by working with somebody through the webinar. We don't do these webinars to do deals with you guys, but this was the first one where he brought the opportunity to us. And what did we do, Will? I gave him our hard money lender. I gave him advice. He ran with it. Unfortunately, because he didn't have the track record, he couldn't get the hard money loan in his name. So it was a natural, like, consideration of maybe I should partner up with Alex and Will on this deal. And credit to you on that, because you did persuade him and influence him to really, you know, do it with us. I was kind of like, well, I mean, we could do it. It is a fat deal because we were he locked it up at 190, and the ARV at the time we had was like high threes, I think, like 375, with just an average rehab. We're like, this is kind of a home run deal. Like, why would we not do this deal, right? And so, you know, one lesson was like, hey, we're putting out this content. We're, you know, sharing all the learning that, you know, from all the action that we're taking, and we're putting something together and creating this community that we want to exist. And because of all that, we're getting rewarded with opportunities. And then also we're helping our tribe members to take down deals, their first couple of deals. I think this was Kayvon's second deal. He picked up an Airbnb new chalet, a new construction chalet or cabin in the Smoky Mountains. So that's why he was also a little bit strapped with cash.
A little bit strapped out, exactly. And so maybe that hard money lender is like, hey, you know what, I can't lend you because, you know, most of your money is in this other investment property you have, right? So yeah, I think that's a big learning point, right?
Yeah. And then also I reached out to the several investors I know in our market that have deals or have investment property in Joshua Tree. And the consensus was like, dude, that's a slam dunk deal, take it down. And so we did that.
Yeah. And you know, you mentioned 190 purchase price, and, you know, we never use these estimates for anything, guys, but, you know, you can see on here, Alex mentioned about 375 and high end 442. But we believe, because the way that we're doing this property, we're actually going to get even more. But that's a lesson that I wanted to share with you guys. And that's, you know, the difference between doing it yourself and just doing it, right? So, you know, one thing that Kayvon, our partner, and I talked about the other day was, you know, a lot of the stuff here before, you know, he would do some of the work because he thought just things needed to get done. And really, in hindsight, it was no, we just need to get bids done, and then that work will get done in its own time. Whereas maybe he had thought initially like, oh man, I should start scraping the dirt in the back or moving this here or doing that, where it's like, no, man, that time could have been spent better used, getting the bids done, getting the people out there, as opposed to taking down the fence posts that maybe took you 3 days, when a crew could have done that in a couple of hours, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, you kind of need to go through that yourself in many respects, because if you're very handy, not like myself, I'm not handy at all. I don't even know how to swing a hammer. I say that proudly, but you want to do the work because you know it can be done and you think you're going to save money, but you're using time that can be more valuable. I mean, the exact point that you're making, which I want to reiterate, you're using this time and you're doing stuff that's maybe 30, 40 bucks an hour work when you could be making hundreds of dollars an hour if you're finding deals or finding money for deals. So now he's learned and he's going to be a better project manager for it. But it did cost us some time. Fortunately, because we bought the property for so cheap, the holding cost, I think the mortgage payment's like less than $1,000. I'm not stressed about that. But like the other properties that we have, that the mortgage payment is $2,500, $3,000. Well, that's a lot more holding costs. So that's what I love about these lower purchase price deals. They also have the lower mortgage payments to carry it if things take longer than expected.
And this is a great property. You mentioned it's a low purchase price, and it's an area that's kind of booming. Just so you guys can see here, it kind of has this beautiful view down the mountain, and down this entire valley over here. And actually, proximity wise, it couldn't be much closer to the Joshua Tree National Park. You go right up, the park road, and you're right here at the west entrance, just down to the south of us here, or north of us, sorry, is main Joshua Tree drag, or main Joshua Tree strip, where most of the brewery and things are kind of happening right down there. So again, really close proximity to most of the stuff that's happening down there. Big Airbnb short-term rental market. So this was a property that had multiple exit strategies for us more than anything. And I think the other big thing on this was understanding that if you have a partner that is looking to take the property down once you're done with it, that can also, now your exit strategy, that gives you another one, right? So that's always something to keep in mind as well there.
Yeah, sure. And it is a hybrid situation. Looks like he's going to be keeping it and buying us out, which I'm totally fine with. And, as long as we get a good return on our investment that we already pre-negotiated. So, deal structuring is something that we've definitely improved on as well, even though that was something that I worked on a lot to get to my own company, to own my own company. But don't be afraid, you guys, to partner up on the right deal, because it works. It's a win-win, and you all learn. And I have $40,000 of my own money, maybe even 50 now of my own money in the deal, and I'm cool with that because it's going to get a good return and it's going to be a win-win deal.
And I mean, this property will look completely different when it's all done. We got rid of these bushes. We're putting in a nice corrugated metal fence. It'll have beautiful views here from the back. Where you're looking out over our backyard here, and just looking out over this entire kind of valley. I know the hot tub and the cowboy tub and the outdoor fire pit. It's those are all kind of the big things out there. And so again, as we've noticed now, the value of holding this property has as well gone up in value as we've continued to hold it. So again, these are just lessons that kind of you learn on one property that also, you'll be able to apply to other properties that you hold as well throughout the year and throughout the quarter, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that a little side note is that when you have these properties and you're tracking them along the way, you're seeing how well the numbers are looking. That also gives you more confidence saying, hey, this thing's going to probably pan out in the next 60 days or so. We need to start getting some more deals because we're going to make some money on this, and it allows you to kind of compound, right?
So this was again a deal, a joint venture deal, right, Alex? And that's something that we've done plenty of those this year. Several of those we mentioned. A deal that we just closed on this week from Mark Neagley. Big shout out to him, and big shout out to Kayvon on this one. A couple of our joint venture partners that. Again, would you rather get zero check or a piece of a check? And, when this check just keeps getting bigger and bigger, it looks good for everybody involved. So, We always say, you like making money with people that you make money with. And, we hope to continue making money with these guys for a long time, right?
Yeah, and then once you make money in a joint venture, then it allows you to just kind of continue to grow that relationship and say, hey, we both won on this deal, and where do we go from next? Kind of like almost like deal by deal basis. So I'm a huge fan of that mindset in this biz.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into our third deal here, Alex. I think same thing here. This is going to be a deal that has a lot of lessons on it, right? This is a deal that we got from a wholesaler. So I'll pull that up for you guys here now. Wholesaler had this one out and available, and it's a property that, Alex, you're really familiar with this area, right? The San Fernando Valley. This is your backyard.
Yeah, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I actually worked at Washington Mutual, a major bank, before they got bought out of Chase, around the corner from this property. So I know this area extremely well, which just gives you that confidence, like, hey, I know the buyer pool, I know what's going on. Although I don't live there, I do know it extremely well. And so just knowing the demographics is super important, because I know there's a lot of that Armenian kind of money coming over from Glendale, Burbank area. They love to own real estate. So I sold an Armenian my property in Van Nuys. These guys are serial entrepreneurs, got a lot of cash, got a lot of resources, got a lot of small businesses. So these guys are loaded with cash and they like nice things. So we knew our end buyer pool pretty well. And then we did have a couple of exit comps, right? Resale comps that were like, okay, this is kind of a blueprint of what we can, if we put on the market, we can get top dollar for this too. And we had looked at a couple of those wholesale deals from that same wholesaler. But this one, I think you did a fantastic job of negotiating this down a little bit to get us where we needed to go on that property.
Yeah, and guys, one thing we learned on this one too is just sticking with our guts and sticking with what we know. So we had, had an opportunity offered to us from the wholesaler to take a discounted, purchase price in exchange for using a preferred lender of theirs. And, that was something that we declined because, we actually preferred our lender, right? So we, rather than going into the unknown, we said, no, we know our lender, we know what we can do, we know they can perform. And, we'd rather perform at our price than, risk not performing at your price. So, sometimes you'll get those little things dangled, by wholesalers or agents and things like that. And, those are pieces that you have to take into your negotiation and into your calculations as well.
Yeah, and with this property specifically, we don't really buy that much property over the $500,000 purchase price mark. That's kind of like our, not I wouldn't say ceiling. We'll buy anything up to, we just bought a property in Maui. We bought a property for over $1 million, but it really, our bread and butter is in that 350 to 450 purchase price range in South LA, and that 250 to 200 to 300,000 in the Antelope Valley. So this was a little bit higher. I think they wanted like 590. I wanted to deal at 560, but I think we ended up buying it at like 565 or 570, right?
I think we're in at 570. Yep.
Yeah. So we didn't quite get what we wanted, but we didn't pay their price. And check this out. They had a $75,000 wholesale fee at that 70. I think it was something like that, right? Where they were going for like close to $100,000 wholesale fee. I'm not hating, but I'm not overpaying for a property either. It needs to have enough spread, and we were able to negotiate right in the middle. We're like, hey, okay, this is a little bit more than what I want to pay, but it definitely has enough spread for us to make, I think, close to 100,000 or in that 70 to 80,000 that we want to be for this a little bit of a higher purchase price, because it takes more capital. So, and at that time, I recall we were starting to really ramp up our relationship with our new hard money lender, Certain Lending. And they were just kind of rocking and rolling and funding stuff quickly. And they liked this deal. So we took it down with them. So I think that was another factor of doing this deal.
Yeah, and when you look at the deal, it's like you said, it's in your backyard. It's an area that really well. The demographics, the buyer pool. So these are reasons why you want to invest in areas that personally, or that very well, because that gives you that confidence that hey man, if we dial this thing in, there's going to be an end buyer that's going to want to take this thing down. And not only that, the house provided a great meetup location. We had a meetup up here with about 50, 35, 40, 50 investors, who kind of came out and got to hear and learn specifically about this property and see some of the investment, details that go on in person. Right. And we'll maybe even do another meetup here when we get closer to selling this, which we like to do sometimes, so you can see the guts and then kind of see the glory as well. But this is a you know, a house that, again, we're very bullish on because you know the area, you know the neighborhood, and I think those are things that really kind of factor into it that sometimes go overlooked, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to forget the learning lessons on the rehab on this property have continued. It's still in the middle of it. Shout out to Amari, our team member, project manager. The guy is just a stud. So everybody go follow Amari. Put your Instagram, Amari. But this guy is just crushing it for the project management for us. But we've been learning along the way and developing systems, because this one was a little bit different. A little bit, we're gonna have to, you know, remodel a little bit higher end, not quite high end, but more than what we typically do. And so we've also learned how to work better together on that side of things too along the way.
And, you know, again, you mentioned it, but big shout out to Amari. He's been absolutely crushing it on this one. And the learning lessons on the project management side are things that you can transfer over, guys. Like, you know, just like we learned on the financial lessons, those project management skills transfer over project to project so that you get better and better, more dialed in on your rehab budgets, more dialed in on the costs. And that's important to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, and then also we got to give a shout out to Paul Villasenor, which is our project manager partner in the Antelope Valley. He's been helping, guiding Amari a lot and helping us make more decisions on deals that he's not even involved in. And he's just been, I mean, just killing it in the Antelope Valley. So shout out, Paul. We got to get him on the webinar, but he's always working at his I think his high paying job that he's going to probably quit next year. Right, Paul?
So guys, you know, again, I think big lessons on this, right, is leaning into your network. Our network included our hard money lender, and our hard money lender, you know, advised us like, hey, this is a deal that we like, we're interested in it. You know, we think we're going to get a return on our money, which means, you know, we're going to get a return on our money as well. So that's the one point. And then again, you know, our private money lenders also kind of go into your project managers. So each time you're able to strengthen one of those relationships, like Paul and like Amari have been able to do by learning and coaching from each other, that just helps, you know, the machine, the wheels keep turning. So I think Paul will be a better project manager and a better coach, you know, having gotten to experience that with Amari. And I think vice versa. I think Amari is going to become a better project manager because of it as well.
Leaders creating leaders, baby. Love it.
So this deal, guys, you know, just to show you a quick rundown, you know, it's a quiet private street. It has close freeway access. When we looked at the deal, the big thing for us that kind of sold us on it, you know, again, could get into those high 8 range, and we're buying it in the, you know, low 6s. So there's enough spread on there.
High five.
Yeah, high five. Sorry that this is a deal that, you know, again, there's enough spread on there to make everybody some money. And that's why when you're private money lenders, when you're hard money lenders, when everybody kind of backs you on a deal, you know, you got to kind of jump in on it. You can't let something like that pass by, right?
Yeah, and when we threw that meetup, I don't want to get sidetracked, but we threw that meetup there to just show people what we're working on there. We had about 40 people come out. One of the people came out was Will Orozco. I don't think he's on the call now, but he ended up, you know, he was talking to us about maybe funding one of the deals and, you know, investing with us. And he ended up, you know, later on investing in another deal because we met in person. You know, he'd been following us. We added enough value. And I'm just so grateful that we have the team that we have and the money partners that we have. But part of that was like, hey, we did the meetup. We don't have to do it, right? But we're doing it just to share. And then, you know, just this, I talked about the last meetup we did. It's like this circle of giving, right? You give a lot and then you get a lot because that's just the way things work. The universe works. And then you have a lot. So then that way you can give more. So there's just like this circle of just like, it just compounding, whether you want to call it karma or anything like that. That's what we're seeing a lot of right now in our business. And I'm just super grateful for it.
So I know we had one more deal that we wanted to kind of dive into. And, you know, this is one that we just now are kind of taking down. And, you know, we wanted to do this, guys, quarter by quarter, just to kind of give you guys some lessons and things that we had learned. So this is one that we just now recently took down. And, you know, some lessons on this is persistence, right? So this is one that, you know, again, shout out to Paul, our you know, partner out there in Antelope Valley. This guy had seen this property beforehand, and had made an offer on it and didn't get it accepted. The wholesaler ended up getting an offer accepted. So it was a property that he was already familiar with, he had already seen. And so that was something that, again, allowed us to kind of act quickly and decisively and, make it out there to take down this property. And those are, big pieces of it, guys, is being familiar with your neighborhood. So again, these are skills that we're learning now that are transferring over from deal to deal, right? So Alex's familiarity with the San Fernando Valley, Paul's familiarity with the Antelope Valley, like those are things that allow us to act quickly and make those decisions to take down these deals in these areas, right?
Yeah, Paul owned, I think, his one of his multi-family buildings next door to it. Yeah, there you go. He had owned that 17-unit building, and he sold it and made a huge profit. Shout out to Paul on that, loaded with cash. No, but no, for real, he knew the area really well. Like I knew Sun Valley, and then we were able to kind of jump on it. And then it was a little bit odd, it's a manufactured. I don't love those. I flipped them before, but they're not my favorite. But since he had already walked the property, and then Eric, our listing agent in Antelope Valley, was super bullish on it, on the ARV, we're like, all right, cool. So our team, kind of as a, right, we have like this purchase council, I like to say, where, yes, maybe I make a lot of the final decisions, but you guys are on the ground floor. Also, I value Paul because he's partner on deals, so he knows what he's doing too there. And so we all kind of have to come to a consensus on this. And that's why I think this was a classic example of that. Like, hey, it wasn't like our kind of typical deal, but the purchase price, the Paul's familiarity with the area and or the property itself, Eric's confidence in the resale value, and then your due diligence, Will, in finding the HUD tag on that property and really getting that and making sure that it's financeable. All that together made that deal work. So, yeah.
A lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts, but again, those are things that make deals happen. Follow up was a big one as well. This was another deal where we actually, negotiated down several $1,000s, from where the wholesalers had sent it out, I think at 165 or something. And, we ended up taking it down for 30K less at around 130. So, these are deals that if you don't make an offer on, you're never going to get a conversation into. So that's one that, really kind of prompted a switch of mentality for us, for our acquisitions guys. Shout out Amari, Renee, and Eliam, Giuseppe, all the guys that are in the trenches and sending out offers. We kind of decided, like, look, man, we need to make offers on these types of properties. If they're going out, maybe they didn't get as many offers as they thought they were going to get, and maybe our offer is the one that sticks. So again, you have to make offers on these properties, and that's how you get to the renegotiation table, right?
Yeah, exactly. Contacts equal contracts, more offers equal more opportunities equal more deals. Also, I want to kind of say something real quickly about what you mentioned about just getting familiar with areas. I've suggested this to people in the past, but you have to look at real estate. You have to be obsessed of understanding value. Going out there and looking at hundreds of listings in areas that you want to get familiar with is super valuable. Driving neighborhoods. I used to drive neighborhoods in LA I wasn't familiar with for hours. And I wasn't door knocking. I wasn't doing driving for dollars. I was literally just driving around, looking at the people, looking at the houses, looking at the area, looking at potential views, looking at going into restaurants, hole in the wall, going to parks, in the area, just like seeing what the area offers. And that has helped me to do deals because I have a strong understanding of a huge geography of Southern California. But that's taking hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours. So if you guys really have to invest that time because it helps you make better decisions. And remember, I said earlier, when you're instilling that confidence in the agent or the buyer or the seller or whoever you're talking, negotiating that deal, partly comes because you really know what you're looking at.
And some people wouldn't want to buy a property near a freeway. Some people wouldn't want to buy a mobile home, like Alex mentioned, a manufactured home. But somebody has to take down these deals. And if you make an offer and it might be lower than what they were asking, but we were still able to get the deal and get this thing done. So a lot of different learning lessons on each of these deals, I think, and I think some of them, apply unilaterally, right?
Yep, exactly.
Across
So
the
you
board.
see some similarities, but there's all these like little touch points. And I think just so we can share that it's not a straight line. There's a lot of things going on, and just make offers, get out there, build your team. Let's go.
So guys, I think what we're gonna do now is what we kind of normally do here at the end of the meeting. We'd like to welcome everybody on. This is our 52nd meeting, and we're gonna go ahead and get into our 1 year anniversary here next week. We'll go ahead and get everybody onto the screen here, kind of chat it up. Let us know, guys, if you have any questions from any of the deals that we went over. Let us know if you guys have anything that you guys are thankful for, any big wins that you wanted to share. Now is a perfect time.
Also, I have a request, you guys. Can you guys share this webinar? Take some pictures, you guys. Take some videos. Tag us. We need to get some more people into the webinar. We're gonna have a huge special guest next week. But just, I think we've kind of fallen off on that and asking you guys. But let's just share it so then that way people have another avenue we can continue to grow the tribe.
Yeah, and I think somebody who has done an incredible job of growing their tribe is going to be joining us next week as a special guest. This is a guy that I think we've leaned on heavily in growing our business, without a doubt, and I think he's done an incredible job of growing his businesses. But next week, guys, we're going to have a big special guest. And this is somebody that Alex and I are good friends with and pumped for. So Alex, let's go ahead and make the announcement and let her rip.
Yeah, you guys. So we're gonna bring on Ryan Pineda next week for the 1 year anniversary. He's gonna drop some knowledge. He's working on a bunch of stuff, and I mean, I'm super excited to interview him. I got a bunch of questions, and we're gonna drop some value, you guys, with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ryan Pineda is coming on next week.
Yeah, and guys, this guy is not only a multi-millionaire, a multi-flipping-year. This guy is flipping like 200 properties a year, holding a couple, dozen properties a year. He's, investing in multiple different businesses and different avenues. Yesterday, we were hanging out with him for a half hour or so, just walking through the metaverse. That was an absolute trip. Just walking. Seeing how that thing works and everything about that. But, this guy is just so dialed in and in tune with everything that's kind of going on, both past business, present business, and future business opportunities. So I think having him on the call next week is going to be extremely valuable. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and have a question feed that I'll post right now in the Facebook group. And if you guys have a specific question that you want to ask Ryan, we're going to try and get a couple special questions from you guys on there. So please do reply to that chain when I post that here in a couple of minutes on the Facebook group. And if you have a question, we'll bring you on screen for a couple seconds and have Ryan kind of answer the question with you. All right.
Yes, sir. And one of the things I want to say about Ryan is, man, he's the only person I think I've ever met that is just always locked in, just that extreme focus. Man, I mean, you have that as well, Will, where you guys are just always on. I mean, I like to turn off sometimes, and so Will, some people are just special that way. They just are always focused and they're just dialed in, go. And Ryan is like that. So let's give him some love. Let's get some people out. I think we'll probably have over 100 people join the webinar next week. So I'm excited. Let's get after it.
Yeah, and guys, invite a friend, bring a friend, bring a partner. This is a great opportunity for people that are thinking about getting into real estate. Ryan has an incredible rookie program that I know a couple people in here are a part of. I know a couple people in here are part of the all-star group. But this guy is an incredible resource. So we're fired up to bring him on, and we'll let you guys kind of chime in now and let us know if you have any feedback, anything you want us to cover with him. And we'll go ahead and post the Facebook group one more time for you guys in the chat, so you guys can leave us some feedback on what you want to talk about with Ryan.
Awesome. Well, what's up, tribe? Anybody want to talk about anything? Any questions? Let's go.
What's up, Alex?
Let's go.
Who's that?
It's Mark.
What's up, Mark?
What's up, Will?
Look, everybody got the deal maker. Everybody got the deal maker hats on. Let's go,
What's
man.
up?
Somebody took mine at the meetup. Somebody took mine, man. I'm like, damn, I need to get one. I need to get one now.
So I got something I'll bring up. So had one of my guys on the team looking for an offer. He's a real estate agent. He went out and he made an offer. It was a property in 29 Palms. I ran the numbers. Everything was good. I kind of let him, do it on his own. He's an agent. We got it all. He signed it for me. Hey, you need to sign it. I'm busy, man. Just, you're an agent. Look at it. So I got everything ready to send to my lender. And I looked at the RPA. And it was like 90 grand. And they have a $70,000 wholesale fee. And my lenders were like, dude, we're not going to do that shit. And so they wanted to cancel and keep our 15K. And I was able to find a lender to do it, but they're going to double close. I was able to help get it done. They're going to double close it, and then they're going to give us time to buy it. So, but whoever's an agent and you're doing it, look at that RPA and renegotiate before you sign it. All the thing is to renegotiating.
Yeah, that's an important point that wholesale fees, if they're large, hard money lenders, some of them will not fund it. And good point, Mark. You got to kind of try to, and it's difficult because the wholesaler doesn't really want you to know that fee. But if it's gonna be a very large fee and you're getting hard money loan, you might be stuck in a situation where that's why you need to have multiple potential lenders too on deals, right, Mark?
Correct. And can you get a chance? Can you or Will send me over your lender, the one you interviewed?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. And
Most of them we share on the Facebook group, and I think they posted their contact info, but I know it can get buried sometimes. So we'll make sure that we kind of repost that in there or get them to, post a picture or something with their business card so we can find that easier.
Thanks, bud. Thanks.
Anybody else have a big win, big lesson, something they learned, a house they just listed that they're fired up about and big lesson they took from that one?
Hey, I just want to share that I've been trying to purchase another property through conventional lending, and I'm getting beat, man. I've been finding some good deals on MLS and getting beat by cash buyers. You guys have any recommendations on what I could probably do because I don't want to overpay for a property because I already have my numbers down, and I just don't want to overpay for a property that isn't gonna make sense.
Well, there's price and there's terms.
You're getting mad at Nikki.
There's price and there's terms. Shut your mic off, Kevin. There's price and terms, right? So if you're on a conventional loan, maybe you could put you could release contingencies a little bit sooner, or if you walk the property with your contractor, you feel confident about it, you can release all contingencies and be a strong conventional offer with no contingencies. It's a little bit more aggressive, but it's showing that, hey man, I'm going to take this deal down, no matter what. And so that might be something that you could do.
I would also just, if you really want it and make the numbers make sense, release your EMD. I know Ryan does.
Yep, that too. Yep. Because what does that do, Ulysses? That communicates to the agent, I'm the real deal. I'm serious. I'm willing to put this money and lose this money because I'm that confident I'm gonna be able to close this house and get you paid.
Thank you.
And sometimes you have to do that, right? You have to pull back the deal, pull it off the table, put some pressure on them. And that's a good way. Like Alex said, you're letting them know, that's how confident I am that I'm going to perform, that I'm the guy to take down this deal. So cool stuff, man. And thanks for sharing and being vulnerable. Again, that's both you and Mark, those are, tough things to share in front of people, but I know you guys have been part of the tribe for quite some time and a little bit more comfortable for you guys. Any other big wins or big takeaways we want to share here before we wrap things up, guys?
I got a question for the entire group, guys. Super good seeing all you guys again. I know I haven't been on in a minute, but glad to be back on. I got the situation with the seller and an ex-wife, getting them on the same page. He likes the number I'm presenting to him, except he's letting me know that the ex-wife doesn't want to move forward. She wants more than 50%. So any tips and tricks for me to even approach the ex-wife or get with him and kind of, be on the same page with these two people? They're both on title. She's not on the loan. He is, but he wants to walk away, 100 grand in his pocket, buy a mobile home. What do you guys think?
Well, my first question is, what's the motivation? And then are the numbers going to work? If you know, you're able to, what number does she want? I think, I mean, that's number one, what's his motivation? Number two is talking to her about it and seeing what she really wants. And then maybe you can negotiate with her.
Great question, Alex. All right, so the biggest motivation, they're already divorced. He wants to leave with 100 grand in his pocket. She's in and out of the property. She's getting him arrested 2 weeks ago. There are huge fights going through. They don't want to go through the court, hire lawyers and stuff like that. He just wants 100 grand in his pocket. She wants about 150. They owe about 200 on the property. My max offer is 400. I got ARV at 515 to 520. So,
so how much cash you can get them? How much are we short?
About 30 grand.
Dude, that's totally doable. So you get him to agree to take less and her to agree to take less, but you do one at a time. What I would do, this is what I do, you guys. Whenever I'm gonna do a like a deal sometimes like this, what I would do is I would reach out to escrow. I would get what's called a seller net sheet. I'm pretty sure you'd be familiar with that, right? Okay, so then you get that seller net sheet and you get that big round number, and then you send that because people believe what they see, right? So it's like, if you can email both of them separately or just kind of get in contact with like, hey, this is a closing statement. This is what he wants. This is what you want. We're so close. We've worked so hard. We're right there. Like, could you see yourself taking anything less so now we can make this deal work? And then whatever that number is, if say, how much is she going to get, say realistically?
130.
And what is he going to get?
100.
Okay, so you make those numbers sound like the fucking biggest numbers in the world. Like, I mean, hey, like you're gonna get $130,000. Like, what would you do with that money? Like, that's a lot of money. And that could be 30 grand, that could be 20 grand. But you're just like saying, like, you're getting her to think like Inception. You're planning to see, like, you're about to get $130,000. What are you gonna do with all that money? Like, almost just like, wow, like you almost won the lottery. So that way you're shifting her view of like, oh, I'm not getting enough, or fuck this guy, or blah, blah, blah. You're shifting it to like the real thing. Like, hey, this is on the table. You stand to make this. What are you going to do next if this happens? And then kind of, I have found that's been very helpful because then it gets them to think about that rather than all these problems, rather than all the stuff that's not going to help you close the deal. And same thing with him, because they need to, I mean, you're so close. Whenever it's more than like 75,000, that's pretty far off. But if you're within 30 grand of striking the deal, I would just have those conversations, get that seller net sheet, make sure they both have it, circle it, highlight it, whatever you got to do. Like, hey, this money is real. It's right in front of you. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with it?
Damn, I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
Tough for people to walk away from that taste of money in their mouth, right? They're like, oh yeah, man, like I want that 150K. Like that now I'm starting to see your number is like 150K sounds a lot better than no 150K, right? So I love that point, Alex.
Well, what about him? If he wants to take 100, like, hey, I mean, what about him taking 90? You know, just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he wants 100, but like $90,000 is a lot of money. What are you gonna do with that? And that way, you're already trying to work on him and be like, hey, and then you go back to her and say, dude, this guy's gonna take. I just got him to take 10,000 less. Like, you're gonna make 40,000 more than him, like 50,000 more than him. Like, what are you gonna do with all that money? You see what I'm saying? You're like already like, hey, I'm the good guy. You know, I'm helping you out. I got this guy to agree to take less. I'm not saying that you do that, but that could be an option, an angle that you do, because then that's gonna make she's gonna be like, damn, because people want to walk away from negotiations like they won, and then that would mean she'd walk away and be like, yeah, I beat that guy. You know, I got him. You know, I got the last laugh.
And Caesar, is there any reason you said he wants 100K and she wants 150K? Did they give any hard reasons behind why they would need that specific number other than what Alex just said? This is what I want.
No specific reason as to why he wants that much. But the only reason is that he does have to relocate to a mobile home park in the area. Okay. So he wants to have at least 100 grand to buy a mobile home.
Then everything Alex just said.
Yeah. And also you could also be like, hey, you know, because you're gonna flip it or keep it. What are you gonna do with it? Wholesale it?
Flip it, baby.
Okay, so if you're gonna flip it, like, hey, we can get you 90, and then how about if things go well, get you another 5 on the back end? You know what I'm saying? Like, just like any way you can structure it, bro. So
I'll make that call right now. I'll make that call right now.
I love it. This is my favorite part, deal making, guys. Let's do this. Okay, cool. Let us know how that goes. I think you got enough ammunition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. I think we've hit our hour, guys. I gotta get kind of going. I'm gonna get a flight in a couple hours. Love, appreciate you all. So thankful for all all you guys' attention and energy and time and everything you guys do. Will, you're my man. Everybody, all the team members, thank you guys. Let's keep rocking. If you guys need anything, you know how to reach us. Let's go.
Thankful for all you guys. I made the post online. Go ahead and get in there and let us know what questions you want to ask Ryan Pineda, special guest next week. It's going to be insane, guys. Don't miss it. This guy's a legend.
And the following week, and next week, we're going to announce a huge giveaway. So it's going to be a huge webinar next week. Let's go.
Let's go. We'll see you, deal makers.